She was a waitress serving wine while 100 princesses lined up to give their blood to the vampire king who lived forever. One clumsy moment, her blood spilled on the marble floor. The king, who had ignored princesses all night, fell to his knees in front of a servant girl. He whispered her blood could save or destroy them all. He said he would never let her leave. Mira had never seen so much silk in one room. She pressed her back against the cold stone wall of the black glass castle's big hall. She held a silver tray that probably cost more than her whole village. Around her, 100 princesses sparkled like stars. They wore green gowns from the eastern kingdoms, blue veils from the desert courts, and red jewels from the mountain clans. Each one was more beautiful than the last, and each one was scared. Refill the cups. Do not make eye contact. Do not trip, Mira whispered to herself, repeating the rules the head servant had yelled at her 3 hours ago. She was only here because the tavern owner in Vale Haven owed someone a favor. 1 night of work, he had promised. Easy money. He had forgotten to tell her she would be serving wine to vampires. The blood-red moon hung fat and full through the giant arched windows. It cast a red light on everything. At the far end of the hall, on a throne carved from black glass, sat King Darius Vin. Mira had heard the stories. Everyone had. He was the king who lived forever and had ruled for 300 years. He was the monster who ended the big war. He did it by drinking the blood of 1,000 soldiers in one night. He was the creature who had signed the peace treaty with his own venom. This bound humans and vampires in a shaky truce that needed this ceremony every 50 years. But the stories never said how human he looked. Darius wore simple black clothes, no crown, and no jewels. His dark hair fell across his sharp cheekbones. His eyes, even from this far away, glowed like dying coals. He looked bored and tired. He looked as if watching princesses line up to give their blood was the dullest thing in the world. "The ceremony will now begin," announced Lord Kane, the king's helper. His voice bounced off the high ceiling. "By the promise of the red twilight, the noble families offer their purest blood to keep our king alive and ensure peace for another generation." The first princess stepped forward. She was a girl with golden hair and a crown of white roses. She held out her wrist with a trembling hand. Darius barely looked at her. He pricked her skin with one sharp nail. He let a single drop of blood fall into a crystal cup, then waved her away. Next, the second princess did no better. Then the third, the fourth. Mira lost count around Princess 27. Each one was the same. She offered blood, was ignored, and was sent away looking crushed. Some of the nobles whispered that the king had not found a true match in over 100 years. They said he survived on the royal blood out of duty, not want. "You, waitress!" A sharp voice made Mira jump. Lady Sarah, a princess from the Northern Highlands, snapped her fingers at Mira. "My cup is empty. Fill it now." Mira hurried over. Her hands were shaking as she poured dark wine from her pitcher. The princess's eyes were ice cold. Her lips were painted blood red. She looked at Mira the way someone might look at a bug on their shoe. "Clumsy peasant," Sarah muttered as Mira stepped back. But Mira's foot caught on the hem of another princess's gown. She stumbled forward, and the crystal cup Sarah had just set down fell off the table. It shattered against the marble floor. The sound cut through the hall like a knife. Everything stopped. 100 pairs of eyes turned toward Mira. She dropped to her knees right away. She frantically gathered the broken pieces with her bare hands. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry," she gasped. Her face was burning with shame. "I'll clean it up." Pain, sharp and sudden, a crystal piece had sliced deep into her palm. Blood came up, bright red, and dripped onto the white marble. That is when it happened. Every vampire in the room went completely still. It was not the stillness of surprise. It was the stillness of hunters catching a smell. At the throne, Darius's head snapped up. His red eyes locked onto Mira. The look on his face made her blood freeze. It was not hunger. It was not curiosity. It was shock. He rose from his throne in one smooth move. The room seemed to hold its breath. Princesses stepped back. Guards grew tense. Even Lord Cain looked confused. Darius crossed the hall. He did not move with the casual boredom he had shown all night, but with purpose. His footsteps echoed. Slow, deliberate. He stopped 3 feet away from where Mira knelt. Blood was still dripping from her hand. "Stand," he commanded. His voice was low and rough. Mira's legs barely obeyed. She stood, wobbling. She clutched her hurt hand against her chest. Up close, the king was even more scary. Tall, powerful, ancient. His eyes were not just red. They were burning. "Your name," he said. "Mira, your majesty. I'm just a waitress. I didn't mean to." "Let me see your hand." It was not a request. Mira held out her trembling hand. Blood pooled in her palm and spilled over her fingers. The cut was deeper than she had thought. Darius stared at it. Then slowly, impossibly, he knelt. The king of all vampires knelt before a tavern waitress. Gasps broke out across the hall. Princesses stumbled backward. Guards half drew their weapons before freezing, unsure who the threat was. "Sire." Lord Cain rushed forward. "What are you?" Silence. Darius did not look away from Mira's hand. He reached out, not to take her blood, but to gently study her wrist, as if she were made of glass. His fingers were cold against her skin. "Who are you?" he whispered. For the first time all night, there was something other than boredom in his voice. There was fear. I don't understand," Mira breathed. Darius finally looked up at her, and she saw it clearly now. The shock, the confusion, and the terrible, desperate hunger in his eyes. It was not the hunger of a hunter. It was the hunger of someone who had been starving for centuries and just found water. "Your blood," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "It sings." Before Mira could ask what that meant, Lady Sarah's high-pitched voice cut through the moment. "She's bewitched him! The servant has used dark magic!" The hall burst into chaos. Nobles shouted. Vampires hissed. Princess after princess began accusing Mira of witchcraft, of trickery, of ruining the holy ceremony. But Darius did not move. He stayed kneeling, his hand still wrapped gently around her bleeding wrist. His eyes were locked on hers. "You're not leaving this castle," he said. Mira could not tell if it was a threat or a promise. "Lock her in the moon chamber," Darius commanded, finally rising. "No one touches her. No one speaks to her. And someone," his voice dropped to something dangerous, "explain to me how a waitress from Vale Haven carries blood that has not been seen in 300 years. 2 guards grabbed Mira's arms and dragged her toward the doors. She looked back once and saw Darius standing motionless in the center of the hall. 100 princesses were forgotten around him. He was still staring at the drops of her blood on the marble floor, as if they were the answer to a question he had stopped asking long ago. The moon chamber was beautiful in the way a cage was beautiful. Silver moonlight poured through floor-to-ceiling windows. It lit up white marble walls carved with old symbols Mira could not read. A 4-poster bed covered in black silk filled the room. Fresh roses sat in a crystal vase. It looked like a room meant for royalty, but the door had locked from the outside. Mira paced, her bandaged hand throbbing. A servant had come. She was silent, terrified, and wrapped the wound before running away without meeting her eyes. That had been an hour ago, maybe 2. Time felt strange here. She pressed her forehead against the cold window glass. She stared down at the courtyard 3 stories below, too high to jump. Not that she would survive the vampire guards walking around the grounds anyway. What did he mean? She whispered to her reflection. Blood that sings. Her mother had been a seamstress. Her father was a farmer who died when she was 8. She was nobody. She had grown up scrubbing tavern floors and serving drunk merchants. There was nothing special about her blood. There was nothing special about her at all, except the king had knelt. A knock at the door made her spin around. "Hello?" Her voice cracked. The door opened, but instead of guards, a woman glided in. She wore midnight blue robes stitched with silver stars. She was a court scholar, Mira guessed. Her face was kind, but her eyes held a warning. "You shouldn't be alive," the woman said without any introduction. Mira's heart hammered. "Are you here to kill me?" "No, child. I'm here to tell you why everyone else wants to." The scholar closed the door softly behind her. "My name is... I have served this court for 40 years, and I've never seen the king react like that to anyone's blood. Do you know what you are?" "A waitress." "A mystery." The scholar moved to the window, her expression serious. "In the old texts, there are stories of blood that carries memory. Bloodlines so old they remember things even the carriers have forgotten. The king's reaction suggests he recognized something in your smell, something impossible. I don't understand. Neither do I, but understand this. Half the court thinks you have cursed him. The other half thinks you're a weapon sent to destroy him. Princess Sarah is already spreading rumors that you're a spy from the Hunter clans." Mira's blood went cold. "Hunter clans? Those are just stories. They died out centuries ago, did they?" Her gaze was sharp. "Tell me, do you know anything about your grandparents? Your mother's family?" "My mother never talked about them. She said they died before I was born." "Convenient." The scholar pulled a small bottle from her robes. Inside was a single drop of dried blood, black as ink. "This is what royal blood looks like to vampires. Dark, rich, life-giving. But your blood, child, when it hit that marble floor, it glowed." Mira stared at the bottle. "That's impossible. I watched it happen. So did everyone else. For 3 seconds, your blood shimmered gold before turning red. Do you know what that means? No? Neither do I. But the king does, and that terrifies me more than anything else tonight." Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside. She tensed, pressing the bottle into Mira's hand. "Hide this, trust no one, and whatever you do, do not let them draw more of your blood until we know what you are." She was gone before Mira could respond, slipping out as silently as she had arrived. Mira barely had time to hide the bottle under the mattress before the door opened again. This time it was him. Darius filled the doorway. His presence was choking. He had removed his formal jacket and was just in a black shirt with his sleeves rolled up. He looked less like a king and more like a man who had not slept in days. "You should be resting," he said. His voice was softer than it had been in the hall. "You locked me in here." Mira hated how small her voice sounded. "I kept you alive." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "Do you have any idea what you have done? 83 princesses left the castle tonight. The remaining 17 are demanding your execution. 2 noble houses have already threatened to break the treaty if I do not kill you by sunrise." "Then kill me." The word surprised even her. "I did not ask to be here. I did not ask for any of this." Something flickered in his eyes. "So please respect." "I cannot," he admitted, and the rawness in his voice made her breath catch. "Your blood?" He stopped as if the words physically hurt. "For 300 years I have survived on duty. Royal blood keeps me alive, but it's like eating ash. It keeps me alive, but it does not feed me. Do you understand?" Mira shook her head. Darius moved closer, and she saw the exhaustion carved into his face. "I am starving, Mira. I have been for centuries, and tonight, for the first time since I took this throne, I smelled something that made me feel hungry instead of hollow." He stopped 3 feet away, keeping the distance as if afraid to get closer. "I will not take your blood," he said quietly, "but I need to know what you are, because whatever is in your veins, it is either going to save me or destroy everything I have built." Mira's hand went to her bandaged palm. "My blood glowed gold." His jaw tightened. "It did. What does that mean?" "It means," Darius said, his red eyes meeting hers with an intensity that made her shiver, "that you might be the last living descendant of the only woman who ever came close to killing me." Before Mira could process that, screams erupted from somewhere in the castle. Then came the sound of breaking glass and shouting. Darius's head snapped toward the door, his fangs sliding out. "Stay here. Do not open this door for anyone but me." He was gone in a blur of shadow. Mira stood frozen in the empty room, her heart pounding against her ribs. The sounds of chaos grew louder. Metal clashed and voices were raised in anger. Through the window, she saw figures moving in the courtyard. Torches, weapons. The mob had come for her, and she was 3 stories up with nowhere to run. The chaos lasted 20 minutes before falling into an eerie silence. Mira pressed her ear against the door, straining to hear anything beyond her own thundering heartbeat. No more screams, no more clashing steel, just nothing. She was about to pull away when voices drifted through the thick wood. "Found the text in the restricted archive." A male voice, nasal and nervous. The seal was still intact. No one has opened them in 2 centuries. And another voice, deeper, scholarly. "What do they say about the Valera line?" Mira froze. Scholar voices, they must be right outside her door. Extinct. The last known member was Kira Valera, died in 1725 during the Siege of Blackwater. She killed 47 vampires before Darius himself ran her through with a silver blade. The bloodline ended with her, or so we thought. Papers rustled. But if this girl carries even a fraction of Valera blood, the records say their blood was poisonous to our kind. Beautiful smell, impossible to resist. But 1 drop could burn through vampire flesh like acid. Mira's bandaged hand throbbed. Then why did it not burn the king when he touched her? A long pause. "I do not know. That is what worries me." Their footsteps faded down the corridor, leaving Mira trembling against the door. Vampire hunters. Her ancestors had been vampire hunters, and not just any hunters. The ones who had nearly won. A soft scraping sound made her whirl around. The window. Someone was opening the window from the outside. Mira grabbed the nearest weapon, a crystal vase, and held it like a club as the window swung inward. A figure in a dark cloak climbed through with practiced ease, landing silently on the marble floor. When they pulled back their hood, Mira nearly dropped the vase. "You, Lady Sarah, the princess who had started this whole nightmare. Put that down before you hurt yourself, peasant." Sarah brushed dust from her expensive cloak. Her ice-blue eyes scanned the room. "We do not have much time. Get out. I'll scream and bring the guards, who have been ordered to kill you the moment you leave this room. Please scream." Sarah moved to the door, pressing her ear against it, just as Mira had done. 15 guards in the hallway, 20 more at the courtyard entrance. "They're not here to protect you, you fool. They're here to make sure you do not escape before the execution." Mira's blood turned cold. Darius said, "Darius is fighting half his court right now. 3 noble houses have already withdrawn their support. The southern clans are gathering their armies, all because of you." Sarah's pretty face twisted with something that looked almost like respect. "You have done in one night what 100 years of politics could not. You have fractured vampire unity completely." "I did not mean to." "Of course you did not. That is what makes it brilliant." Sarah pulled a sealed letter from her cloak and set it on the bed. "My family wants you dead. Most of the princesses do, but I am not most princesses. Why are you helping me?" Sarah's laugh was bitter. "Helping you? I'm not. I am helping myself. If you die, Darius becomes a martyr king who lost his true match. The humans rally behind him. Peace continues. But if you live, if you become the scandal that tears down his reign, then the throne becomes vulnerable. And my family has been waiting 3 centuries for that vulnerability." Mira stared at her. "You want me to destroy him? I want you to survive." Sarah moved back to the window. "That letter contains a map of the tunnels beneath this castle. There is a passage that leads to the old hunter tunnels. It exits near the forest border. Be ready to run when the moment comes." "What moment?" "You'll know." Sarah climbed back through the window with unnatural grace. "Oh, and one more thing. Do not trust her. She's not the kind scholar she pretends to be. Her sister died in the Valera Purge." Before Mira could respond, Sarah disappeared into the night. Mira rushed to the window, but the princess was already gone, swallowed by shadows. She grabbed the letter with shaking hands, breaking the wax seal. Inside was indeed a map, detailed, with a route marked in red ink, and a note in elegant writing. "The coronation room, midnight, northwest corner, loose stone." A different sound made her jump. The main door unlocking. Mira shoved the map under the mattress just as Darius strode in. This time he was not alone. A massive vampire in military armor followed. He had a scarred face, cold eyes, and a sword that had clearly seen centuries of battle. "General Theron," Darius said without looking at the man. "Tell her what you told me." The general's gaze swept over Mira with obvious dislike. The old prophecy, written in blood on the throne room floor by the witch who cursed our kind 400 years ago. His voice was gravel and iron. "When shadow and gold meet without fear, the curse shall break or the kingdom disappear." "I do not understand," Mira whispered. "Shadow and gold." Darius moved to the window she just closed, staring out at the same darkness Sarah had vanished into. "Vampire blood runs red as shadow. Yours runs gold in the light. The prophecy has two endings," Theron continued, his hand resting on his sword hilt. "Either the curse breaks and both species find peace, or everything ends. The kingdom, the treaty, all of it." Mira's throat went dry. "Which one happens?" "That depends," Darius said quietly, "on whether we meet with fear or without it." He finally turned to face her, and the weight in his red eyes made her chest ache. "The curse is not just killing me, Mira, it's spreading. Every full moon, the darkness in my blood grows stronger. In 50 years, maybe less, every vampire will become what humans fear most: mindless, savage, uncontrollable. And you think I can stop it. I think you are either the cure or the poison that ends us all." He took a step closer, his voice dropping. "The question is, are you brave enough to find out which?" Before Mira could answer, an explosion rocked the castle. The windows shattered inward, spraying glass across the room. Theron threw himself in front of Darius as smoke billowed through the opening. Through the haze, Mira saw figures in the courtyard below. Human soldiers, dozens of them, with crossbows and torches and silver weapons. "They're storming the castle," Theron snarled. "Someone told them about the girl." Darius's fangs extended, his eyes blazing with fury. But when he looked at Mira, trapped between vampire generals and human invaders, his expression shifted to something that looked almost like regret. "Get her to the tunnels," he ordered Theron. "If they take her, this war begins tonight." More explosions. The door burst open. Guards poured in, shouting about attacks in the East Wing. In the chaos, no one noticed Mira remembering Sarah's map, or the loose stone in the northwest corner. Her only chance to escape was disappearing with every second. "Northwest corner," Mira whispered to herself as guards rushed past her. "Loose stone, northwest corner." Theron was barking orders at the doorway, organizing defenses. Darius had vanished, probably to the front lines. In the chaos of smoke and shouting, no one was watching the servant girl pressed against the wall. Mira dropped to her knees and crawled toward the corner Sarah had marked on the map. Her fingers scraped along the marble, searching for anything loose. Nothing. Nothing. Then, there. A stone slightly raised from the others. She pressed it. A section of the wall swung inward with a grinding sound that was swallowed by the explosions outside. Darkness opened up beyond a narrow passage that smelled of earth and decay and centuries of secrets. Mira did not hesitate. She slipped through and pulled the stone door closed behind her. Instant silence. The battle sounds became muffled, distant. She was alone in complete darkness. "Okay," she breathed, forcing down panic. "Find the tunnels. Get to the forest. Figure out the rest later." Her hands found rough stone walls on either side as she stumbled forward. The passage sloped downward, deeper into the earth beneath the castle. The air grew colder with every step. Something dripped in the distance. Water, she hoped. Just water. After what felt like hours, but was probably minutes, the narrow passage opened into a larger space. Faint light filtered from somewhere above. Gaps in the ceiling, maybe. Enough to see that she had reached the tunnels. Rows of stone shelves lined the walls. Each one held the skeletal remains of vampires long dead. Their bones gleamed white in the dim light, and old weapons lay crossed over their chests. This was a tomb, a warrior's tomb. Mira's breath misted in the cold air as she remembered the image of Sarah's map. The hunter tunnels should be east of here, beyond the burial chambers. She just had to... A sword tip pressed against her throat from behind. "Going somewhere, girl?" Mira froze. She recognized that voice. One of the guards from Sarah's homeland. Northern accent. Cold as ice. "Lady Sarah said you would come this way," the guard continued. "She's smarter than she looks, that one. Gave you a map straight into our trap." 2 more guards emerged from the shadows, weapons drawn, all wearing northern house colors. Mira's stomach dropped. She betrayed me. She used you. The guard smiled, his fangs catching the light. With you dead, the king will spiral into grief. The treaty will break, and the northern houses will finally get the war they have wanted for a century. Nothing personal, peasant. You're just better as a martyr. The sword pressed harder against her throat. Mira squeezed her eyes shut, waiting for the end. It did not come. Instead, there was a sound like thunder and stone breaking. The guard's sword clattered to the ground. When Mira opened her eyes, all 3 guards were pressed against the far wall. They were held there by an invisible force that made the air itself shimmer. Darius stood at the tunnel entrance, his hand outstretched, his eyes blazing pure red. "Touch her again," he said softly, "and I will bury you so deep even death will not find you." He clenched his fist. The 3 guards dropped to the ground unconscious. Mira's legs gave out. She sat hard on the cold stone, shaking uncontrollably. Darius was beside her in an instant. His cold hands cupped her face, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did they—" "I'm fine," her voice broke. "Sarah, she set me up. She wanted them to kill me." "I know." His jaw clenched with barely controlled rage. "I caught one of her messengers. She has been playing both sides, promising you escape while arranging your murder." He pulled back, studying her face. "Why did you not call for me? I did not know if I could trust you." Something flickered in his eyes. Pain, maybe. "Fair enough." He stood, helping her up gently. "But we cannot stay here. These tunnels connect to old hunter passages. If Sarah knows about them, others do too." He led her deeper into the tunnels, past rows of ancient dead until they reached a chamber that looked different from the rest. The walls here were carved with symbols that glowed faintly gold, the same color as her blood. "I used to hide here when I was young," Darius said quietly. "Before I was king, before all of this. It's protected from being found. We will be safe for a few hours." Mira touched one of the glowing symbols. "What is this place?" "A shrine to the first treaty." Darius sat on a stone bench, suddenly looking exhausted. "Built by the human King Marcus and the vampire Queen Elise, 300 years ago, when they signed the peace agreement. This is where they made their promises to protect both species no matter the cost." He paused, meeting her eyes. "King Marcus's blood is what sealed the treaty. And the vampire who nearly killed me, Kira Valera, she was the Queen's personal assassin, sent to end me before the treaty could be signed." Mira's heart pounded. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand what you are." Darius stood, moving toward her with careful steps. "When I smelled your blood tonight, I recognized both smells. Marcus's bloodline, noble, royal, the foundation of peace. And Valera's blood, poisonous to vampires, designed to kill us." Mira shook her head. "That's impossible. I'm nobody." "You are the daughter of 2 erased bloodlines." His voice was gentle but firm. "King Marcus had a secret daughter. She was hidden, removed from records to protect her from political enemies. That daughter married into the Valera line in secret. Vampire hunters hiding among humans, waiting for their chance to strike again. You, Mira, are what happens when peace and war have a child." The chamber spun. Mira's back hit the cold wall as her knees buckled. "No, my mother was a seamstress. My father. Your father was Marcus's great-great-grandson. Your mother was Valera's last hidden heir." Darius knelt in front of her again, his expression raw. "They died protecting you, keeping the secret so you could have a normal life." Tears burned in Mira's eyes. "I'm a weapon. You're a bridge." He took her trembling hands in his cold ones. "Your blood does not burn me because you are both poison and cure. You are the answer to the prophecy, the one who can either end the curse or end everything. I do not know how to be that," she whispered. "Neither do I." For the first time, Darius smiled. It was sad, tired, but real. "But I think that is the point. You're not supposed to know. You're supposed to choose." Above them, the sounds of battle still raged. Somewhere in the castle, armies clashed. But in this small shrine built on hope 3 centuries ago, a vampire king and a waitress who was so much more sat in the quiet darkness, holding on to each other like lifelines. "What happens now?" Mira asked. Darius's grip tightened on her hands. "Now we stop running, and we end this together." They stayed in the shrine for 3 days. Above them, the the battle had ended. Darius's forces had fought off the human attackers, but the damage was done. 7 vampire nobles dead, 2 human battalions destroyed. The fragile peace was cracking like ice under a hammer. But in the hidden chamber, time moved differently. "Focus," Darius said, watching as Mira held her bleeding palm over a bowl of water. "Feel the energy in your blood. Do not fight it. Guide it." Mira gritted her teeth. Her hand throbbed where she had reopened the wound. At his instruction, a single drop of blood fell into the clear water and glowed. Golden light spread through the bowl like liquid sunrise, lighting up the dark chamber. But there was something else, too. Dark threads that moved through the gold like smoke, beautiful and terrible at once. "Half divine, half venom," Darius murmured. "Just like the text said, your blood carries both creation and destruction. I do not feel powerful." Mira's voice shook as the light faded. "I feel like I'm breaking apart." "Because you are, and so am I." He moved closer, rolling up his sleeve to show his forearm. In the dim light, dark veins spread beneath his pale skin like cracks in a dish. They pulsed with a sickly black light. Every full moon the curse spreads further. It started in my heart, and now it is reaching for my mind. Mira stared at the sickness spreading through him. "How long?" 3 more full moons, maybe 4. His voice was matter-of-fact, but she heard the fear beneath. "When it reaches my brain, I will become what humans have always feared. Mindless hunger with no control. And because I am the oldest, the source, every vampire alive will follow. The curse does not just kill me, it ends our entire species. Then why have you not looked for a cure before?" "I tried. For 300 years I tried everything." Darius sat on the cold stone floor, suddenly looking ancient. Blood magic, witch curses, human science. Nothing worked. "The curse is tied to the original sin, my ancestors' betrayal of the first peace treaty. Only blood that remembers both sides can break it." "My blood. Your choice." He looked up at her. His red eyes reflected the golden symbols on the walls. "The prophecy says, when red and gold meet without fear, your blood runs gold. Mine runs red as shadow, but meeting without fear. That is the part no one can force." Mira sank down beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "What if I'm afraid? Then we all die," he said it simply. "But if you're brave enough to try, there might be a chance." The silence stretched between them, heavy with possibilities and impossible choices. "Teach me," Mira said finally. "If my blood can do what you saw, if it can glow and change, then teach me how to control it. I cannot make this choice if I do not understand what I am." Over the next days, Darius became her teacher. He showed her how to sense the energy in her veins, how to call the golden light without bleeding, how to let the darker threads, the Valera poison, rise and fall without letting them take over. It was like learning to breathe underwater, impossible and necessary all at once. And slowly, something shifted between them. She learned he was not the monster from stories. He was a king who had carried the weight of 2 species for centuries. He went hungry rather than take more than he needed. He remembered the name of every soldier who died under his command. He learned she was not just a waitress or a weapon. She was stubborn, quick-witted, and brave in ways that had nothing to do with bloodlines. She made him laugh for the first time in decades. On the 3rd night, Mira woke to find him sitting against the far wall, staring at his sick arm with hollow eyes. "Darius?" "I'm afraid," he admitted quietly. "For 300 years I have not let myself feel fear. But with you I am terrified, because for the first time I have something to lose besides my kingdom." Mira crossed the chamber and sat beside him. Without thinking, she took his sick arm in her hands. The black veins pulsed against her palm and she felt it. The wrongness, the spreading poison. But she did not let go. "The prophecy says without fear," she whispered. "It does not say without being afraid. Maybe it means doing it anyway." Darius looked at her like she had spoken in a language he had forgotten. Then slowly, he brought his other hand up to cup her face. His touch was cold but gentle. "You're going to save us all or doom us all," he said. "And I do not care which, as long as I get to see you try." The moment hung between them, charged and delicate. It shattered when the shrine door burst open. General Theron stood there, bloody and furious. "Sire, we have a problem." Darius was on his feet instantly. What happened? Scouts reported it to the court 3 hours ago. The king has been hiding in the tunnels with a servant girl for 3 days. His expression was grim. The noble houses are calling it a terrible thing. 8 more are demanding you give up the throne, and the human kingdoms. He paused. They are gathering for war. They think you have enslaved her. I have not. It does not matter what's true. Theron cut him off, something he had never done before. Half your court believes you have been bewitched. The other half thinks you have gone mad with hunger. Princess Sarah has convinced the Northern Alliance that you have broken the treaty by keeping a human prisoner. Mira's stomach dropped. Sarah's still here? She's leading the rebellion. Theron looked at Mira with something that might have been pity. She has united the noble houses against you both. Tomorrow at dawn, they are coming for the girl. And if you stand in their way, they will declare you unfit to rule and crown a new king. Darius's fangs extended. Rage turned his eyes to burning coals. Let them try. They have the backing of 40 houses. You have 12 loyalists left. This is not a fight you can win with force. Then what do you suggest? The king's voice was deadly quiet. Theron looked between them, weighing his next words carefully. Give her up publicly. Claim she used blood magic to bewitch you. Execute her yourself before the court and prove your loyalty to vampire law. No. Darius's answer was immediate and absolute. Then you are choosing her over your kingdom. Theron's voice held no judgment, only a statement of fact. I am choosing what is right over what is easy. Darius moved to stand beside Mira, and she felt the decision growing solid between them like steel. Tell the court we are coming at dawn, and we will end this one way or another. After Theron left, Mira turned to Darius with wide eyes. They are going to kill us both. Probably. He smiled, sad and determined. But we are going to try to save them anyway. That's what heroes do in stories, right? We're not heroes. We're a cursed king and a confused waitress. Even better. He offered his hand. Ready to change history? Mira took it, feeling the cold of his skin against hers, and nodded. Tomorrow they would face an army. Tonight they just held on. They never made it to dawn. Mira woke to the sound of steel and shouting. Darius was already on his feet, fangs bared, as the shrine door exploded inward. Not knocked open, exploded, blown apart by some kind of magic that left stone pieces stuck in the old walls. 12 vampires poured through the opening. Not guards, nobles. She recognized several from the blood ceremony. Powerful, ancient, and furious. Seize the human, Lord Cain commanded. The king has broken covenant law. He must answer for his crimes. Darius moved like lightning, placing himself between Mira and the attackers. Touch her, and I will paint these walls with your blood. You have already given up your crown for a servant girl. Lady Seraphine stepped forward, her face twisted with disgust. 3 days hidden away like a lovesick boy while your kingdom burns. You're not fit to lead us. This is treason. This is survival. Lord Cain's voice cracked like a whip. You have endangered every vampire alive for one human. The treaty demands balance, not obsession. Not love. The word hung in the air like an accusation. Before Darius could respond, more nobles flooded in. 20, 30, too many to fight. And leading them, wearing a crown that was not hers, was Princess Sarah. Hello, Your Majesty. Her smile was poison sweet. I'm afraid your reign just ended. Everything happened at once. Half the nobles grabbed Darius, forcing him back with sheer numbers. Silver chains burning, weakening, wrapped around his arms. He roared in fury, throwing off 3 vampires, but more kept coming. Mira tried to run, but cold hands grabbed her shoulders. She screamed, kicking and fighting, but they dragged her away from him. Mira! Darius's voice was raw with desperation. Take them both to the throne room, Sarah ordered. Let the court witness what happens to traitors. They were hauled through the castle hallways, past shocked servants and cheering rebels. The throne room doors appeared ahead, and Mira's heart sank as they were thrown open. The entire court had gathered, hundreds of vampires, and standing at the front, wearing looks of righteous anger, were the remaining princesses and noble families who had pledged against Darius. Mira was thrown to the marble floor at the base of the throne, the same throne Darius had sat on during the blood ceremony, the same floor where her blood had first fallen. Darius was forced to his knees 20 feet away, silver chains glowing against his skin, burning him. "Citizens of the Eternal Court," Sarah announced from beside the throne, her voice ringing clear. "For 300 years King Darius has protected us, but power corrupts even the strongest. This human girl, this servant, has poisoned his mind. She has made him weak, reckless, unfit." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "Lies!" Darius snarled, struggling against his chains. "She has done nothing but bewitch you?" Sarah's laugh was cruel. "The evidence is clear. You abandoned your duties, hid in the tunnels with her, chose her over your people. You broke the promise and endangered our entire species for a waitress. She's more than that. She's human." Lord Cain stepped forward, pulling a silver dagger from his belt. "And humans cannot be trusted. This court demands proof of your loyalty, sire. Prove you are still our king. Kill the girl now." The crowd erupted in shouts. Some demanded blood, others called for mercy. Chaos spread like wildfire. Sarah raised her hand for silence. "Or," she said sweetly, "we can do it for you." She nodded to Lord Cain. "No," Darius roared, throwing himself against the chains. "I will give you anything. The throne, my life, everything. Just let her go." But Cain was already moving toward Mira with the silver blade. She scrambled backward, but there was nowhere to run. Vampires surrounded her on all sides, their eyes hungry and hateful. "Please," she whispered. "I never wanted any of this. Neither did we." Cain raised the dagger. "But history demands sacrifice." The blade plunged down. Mira threw her hands up instinctively, and the dagger caught her palm instead of her heart. Pain exploded through her as silver tore through her skin. She screamed. Blood poured from the wound. Not just red. Gold light erupted from the cut, brilliant and blinding. The blood splashed across the marble floor. Where it landed, both colors mixed, red and gold swirling together like liquid sunset. A single drop hit the base of the throne. The castle shook. It was not an earthquake. It was deeper, older, as if the very foundations of the black glass castle were waking up after centuries of sleep. The throne itself began to glow. Old symbols carved into the black glass pulsed with the same golden-red light as Mira's blood. Every vampire in the room stumbled. The chains holding Darius shattered like glass. "No," Sarah breathed, backing away. "That's not possible. The throne does not respond to human blood." But it was responding. The light spread from the throne across the floor in detailed patterns. It was a map of some kind, or a spell written in a language older than any kingdom. Darius stood. The silver burns on his arms were already healing. His eyes were not red anymore. They were glowing with the same mixed light as Mira's blood. "She's not the weapon," he said. His voice echoed with power that made the room tremble. "She's the key." The prophecy never demanded consumption. It demanded unification. He crossed to Mira in 3 strides, kneeling beside her as she held her bleeding hand. The wound was deep, possibly fatal without treatment. "I understand now," he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "It's not about taking your blood. It's about joining it with mine. Mira, trust me. One more time." He bit his own wrist. Dark red blood came up. The blood-merging ritual. It's forbidden, ancient. Once performed, it cannot be undone. What does it do? It makes us one life instead of 2. Your mortality, my immortality, shared, equal. His eyes searched hers desperately. Half the court will flee. They will call us abominations. But it's the only way to save you and break the curse. Mira looked past him at the hundreds of vampires, watching with looks of horror and fascination. She looked at Sarah, whose political victory was crumbling. She looked at the throne glowing with impossible light. Then she looked back at Darius, the king who had given up everything for her. "Do it," she said. He pressed his bleeding wrist to her wounded palm. Their blood mixed, red and gold spiraling together. The light grew until it was blinding. Darius began to chant in a language that was older than kingdoms. His voice layered over itself as if 1,000 ancestors spoke through him. The throne blazed brighter. The castle shook harder. Power flooded through Mira, cold and hot, ancient and new, life and death mixing together. She felt Darius's heartbeat sync with hers. She felt his 300 years of memories crash into her mind. She felt his curse and her gift colliding like stars. The light exploded outward. When it faded, half the court was gone, fled in terror. Those who remained stared at Darius and Mira with looks of awe and fear. Sarah stood frozen, her stolen crown askew, her revolution destroyed. On the floor, still kneeling with their blood-joined hands clasped together, Darius and Mira looked at each other. She could feel him inside her mind now. He could feel her heart beating in his chest. They were no longer king and waitress. They were something entirely new, and every vampire still in the room could sense it. Mira woke in silk sheets that smelled like night-blooming jasmine and old stone. For a moment, she did not remember where she was. Then it all came flooding back. The throne room, the silver dagger, the ritual. Her hand flew to her palm, expecting to find a wound. Instead, she found a scar that glowed faintly gold beneath her skin. "Easy," Darius's voice came from across the chamber. "Your body is still adjusting." She sat up slowly, and the world tilted in strange new ways. She could hear things. The heartbeat of a mouse in the walls 3 rooms away, the whisper of wind through stone hallways, the steady pulse of the earth itself beneath the castle foundations. And deeper still, she felt the presence of every living thing within miles, human and vampire alike, their life forces like candles in the darkness. "What did you do to me?" Her voice came out stronger than expected. "What we did to each other." Darius moved into the light, and Mira gasped. He looked different. Still pale, still beautiful, but less. The dark veins that had been spreading through his arms were fading, leaving only faint traces like healing scars. His eyes, once pure red, now held flecks of gold, and when he smiled, his fangs were shorter, less sharp. "The curse is unraveling," he explained, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Slowly. Your blood, our merged blood, is undoing what was done 400 years ago. But, Mira," his expression grew serious, "I'm weaker, more human. My immortality is bleeding away into you, while your mortality flows into me. We're becoming something in between." Mira looked down at her hands. Beneath her skin, faint lines of light pulsed with her heartbeat. Gold and red mixed together. "How long do we have?" "Years, maybe. Decades, if we're lucky." He reached out, taking her glowing hand in his. "I am diminishing, Mira, but dying slowly enough to actually live first. It's more than I ever hoped for." "And the vampires? Your people? The curse is lifting from them too. Already reports are coming in. Vampires who have regained emotions they had lost, memories that had faded. Some are aging slowly, becoming more human. Others are transforming in different ways." He paused. Not everyone is happy about it. A knock at the door interrupted them. General Theron entered, bowing stiffly. "The messengers are here as requested, both human and vampire." Darius nodded. "Tell them we will meet them in the treaty chamber." And, the general looked up, "Thank you for not fleeing." "Someone has to document whatever the hell you two are creating," Theron muttered. But there was the ghost of a smile on his scarred face. Over the next week, Mira discovered the true extent of the ritual's power. She could walk in sunlight, something no vampire could do. But she could also slip into the twilight spaces between night and day, moving through shadows the way Darius once had. The merged blood allowed her to cross boundaries that had been locked for centuries. So she did. She walked into human villages where people cowered at the mention of vampires, and she listened to their stories. Farmers whose children had been taken in the old wars, widows whose husbands had died in the last uprising. Fear ran so deep it had become part of their bones. Then she crossed into vampire sanctuaries, communities hidden from human sight, and heard their stories too. Ancient vampires who remembered the Great Purge when hunters had burned entire bloodlines, young ones who had never known anything but hunger, and the constant weight of the curse. Both sides thought they were victims. Both sides thought they were right. And both sides were destroying each other out of fear. "They need to see," Mira said when she returned to the castle, exhausted and heartbroken. "Not hear stories or read treaties. Actually see each other." Darius listened as she described what she had witnessed. The mother in Vale Haven, who still sang lullabies to the daughter she had lost 50 years ago. The vampire child in the Eastern Sanctuary, who drew pictures of sunshine she'd never touch. The baker who made bread for travelers but kept a silver knife under his counter. The elder vampire who recited the names of every human friend he had lost to the curse's madness. "They're not that different," Mira finished. "They've just been afraid for so long they've forgotten how to be anything else." "Fear is easier than trust," Darius said quietly. "Then we show them something easier than fear." Mira stood, her glowing veins pulsing with determination. We show them the truth, all of it, not as king and subject, but as proof that both sides can exist together without one destroying the other. Darius studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not the sad, tired smile she had seen before, but something real. You really think we can change 300 years of hatred? No. Mira took his hand, feeling the warmth in his fingers that had not been there before. I think we already did. We just need to show them it's possible. They planned through the night. Not a ceremony or a treaty signing or a royal decree. Something simpler, more honest. They would gather both courts, human and vampire, and tell their story. Show what the merging had done. Offer their joined blood as proof that the old divisions, to realize that fear had been the only enemy all along. Some would flee, some would fight, but some, maybe enough, would listen. There's one problem, Theron said when they presented the plan to the few advisors who had remained loyal. Princess Sarah and the rebel houses. They have retreated to the northern mountains with their supporters. They are calling you both abominations and promising to restore true vampire rule. Let them, Darius said. We're not fighting anymore. Not unless we have to. And if they attack during the gathering. Mira and Darius exchanged glances, their merged minds allowing silent communication. Then, Mira said slowly, we show them exactly what happens when red and gold meet without fear. 3 days later, the summons went out to every human kingdom and vampire house that would listen. Come to the Obsidian Castle at dawn. Witness the end of the old world and the beginning of something new. Some called it hope. Others called it madness. As the sun rose on the gathering day, Mira stood beside Darius on the castle steps and watched hundreds approach from both directions. Humans from the south, vampires from the north, all walking toward the same impossible meeting. Ready? Darius whispered. Mira felt her blood pulse with golden red light, felt the echo of his heartbeat sync with hers, felt 300 years of pain and possibility colliding in this single moment. Ready, she said. Together they walked down to meet their future. The sun rose over the Obsidian Mountains as both courts gathered in the valley below the castle. Hundreds of humans stood on one side. Farmers, soldiers, merchants, nobles, all armed, all afraid. Hundreds of vampires stood on the other. Ancient houses, young ones, rebels and loyalists, all watching, all waiting. Between them, a space of empty ground that might as well have been an ocean. Mira and Darius walked into that space alone. 300 years ago, Darius began, his voice carrying across the valley. My ancestor broke a promise. He betrayed the first peace. And in return, a curse was placed on every vampire to slowly lose our humanity, until we became the monsters humans feared. That curse has been killing us ever since. Murmurs rippled through both crowds. Mira stepped forward, her glowing veins visible even in the morning light. My name is Mira. I was born in Vale Haven to parents I thought were nobody. But I learned the truth. My father's bloodline traces back to King Marcus, the human who signed the first treaty. My mother descended from Kira, the vampire hunter who nearly ended this war forever. Gasps erupted. A human soldier shouted, Lies! A vampire hissed in disbelief. I carry both in my blood, Mira continued, her voice steady. Peace and war, creation and destruction. I am what happens when you refuse to let old hatreds define the future. Darius moved beside her, taking her hand. The prophecy spoke of red and gold meeting without fear. We thought it meant dominance, consumption, but it meant this. He held up their joined hands, light pulsing where their skin touched. Unification, not one side winning, but both sides choosing to become something new. The curse is breaking, Mira said. Not because we destroyed it, but because we chose each other over fear. Chose trust over safety. Chose to become a bridge instead of a weapon. From the vampire side, an elderly woman stepped forward, one of the scholars who had remained. If what you say is true, show us. Prove the curse is truly ending. Darius nodded. He drew a knife from his belt. Silver. The blade that should burn him. He did not flinch as he pressed it to his palm. Blood welled up, but it was not the deep red of a vampire. It was lighter, tinged with gold. On the human side, a young mother stepped forward shyly. And what about us? How do we know this is not some trick? That you will not just enslave us like the old stories? Mira opened her hand, showing the scar that glowed beneath her skin. because I am still human. Still mortal. Still afraid. But I'm choosing to trust anyway. That's all any of us can do. She took a breath and spoke the words that would change everything. I offer my blood freely given, not taken, to seal a new promise. Not between king and subject, but between equals. Between species who have forgotten they were once one people before fear divided us. Darius raised his bleeding palm. Mira raised hers, reopening her scar with the same silver blade. They pressed their hands together before both courts. The light that erupted was blinding. Red and gold spiraled together, expanding outward in a wave that swept across the valley. Where it touched, the dead grass turned green. Withered trees burst into bloom. The very air seemed to shimmer with possibility. The vampires cried out not in pain but in shock. Mira felt it through their bond. Centuries of numbness cracking, emotions flooding back like a dam breaking. Some fell to their knees weeping. Others stared at their hands in wonder as the curse's darkness lifted. The light reached beyond the valley, spreading toward distant kingdoms and hidden sanctuaries. Everywhere it touched, the old wounds began to heal. But there was a cost. Darius swayed, his grip on Mira's hand weakening. She caught him as he stumbled, feeling his immortality draining away like water through her fingers. Darius! She lowered him to the ground, holding his head. His eyes, fully gold now, no red left, found hers. Worth it, he whispered, his voice fading. Peace was always worth dying for. No, you can't. Tears streamed down Mira's face. Not dying, just becoming mortal. Finally. He smiled, and it was the most human expression she had ever seen on his face. You'll have to finish this without me for a while. His eyes closed. His heartbeat, so faint now, steadied into the slow rhythm of human sleep. Not death. Mira looked up at the hundreds surrounding them. Some still feared, some still hated. But many, so many, were staring at the blooming valley with looks of wonder. General Theron knelt beside them, checking Darius's pulse. He lives. Barely. But he will need time to heal. Then we will give him time. Mira stood, her voice carrying across the valley. The old world is dead. What we build next is up to all of us. Not kings, not prophecies. Just people choosing every day to be better than their fear. She was not sure anyone would listen, but slowly, a human farmer crossed the empty space between the two sides, then a young vampire, then more. One by one, they met in the middle, where dead grass had turned green. 5 years later, the tavern in Vale Haven looked the same as it always had. Worn tables, crackling fire, the smell of fresh bread and ale. But the customers had changed. A vampire merchant laughed with a human trader over cards. A mixed group of travelers shared stories from the road. In the corner, children, human and vampire both, listened to an old woman's tale about the Keeper of the Dawn. Mira wiped down the bar, her glowing veins faint now, but still visible in the right light. Darius sat at a table by the window, looking entirely human, except for the gold in his eyes. He had aged 5 years in 5 years. He would age another 50 before the end. They would have a lifetime together, just a human lifetime, which somehow felt like more than an eternity. "Another round," a customer called, coming up. Mira smiled. Later, when the tavern closed and the last customer stumbled home, she went down to the cellar. Behind the old wine barrels, beneath loose floorboards, the obsidian crown rested in its hidden vault. It pulsed faintly with red and gold light as if dreaming. Some said the curse could return. That darkness always came back. But Mira touched the crown gently, feeling the warmth still trapped inside. And she thought, maybe. But so will we. She climbed back upstairs to where Darius waited, where tomorrow would bring more travelers, more stories, more chances to choose light over shadow. The Age of Kings was over. The Age of Choices had just begun.